Fuck around and find out. That's what happened to a Space Force colonel. She fucked around and she found out. Shout out to the New York Post. Space Force Colonel Susanna Myers fired after astonishing mass email about J.D. Vance's Greenland visit surfaces. She essentially put out an email where she was kind of like, it's pretty milquetoast, but she's basically talking shit about the Greenland, the attempt to kind of coax Greenland into becoming U.S. territory. She's not a fan of it, and she sent out a mass email and criticizing the president and the vice president, which you're not supposed to do whenever you're part of the chain of command. Like, unless the president is doing something illegal, it's supposed to be forever hold your peace. And Colonel Myers just couldn't bring herself to do it. She had to send out a mass email to everyone on her fucking base. I don't know if it was literally everyone on the base, but to a lot of people. It's a mass email. It went out to a bunch of people. But anyway, yeah, shout out to the New York Post. The officer in charge of a U.S. Space Force base in Greenland was stripped of her command after she sent out a mass email that distanced herself from statements made by Vice President J.D. Vance and the Trump administration days after his visit last month. The Space Force announced late Thursday that it removed Colonel Susanna Myers as leader of Patuxent Space Force Space Base, quote, for loss of confidence in her ability to lead. Commanders are expected to adhere to the highest standards of conduct, especially as it relates to remaining nonpartisan in the performance of their duty, Space Operations Command's statement read. Myers, who assumed control of the 821st Space Base Group in July 2024, fired off a message to the troops in her command saying that the views discussed by Vance during the visit on March 28th are not reflective of Patuxent Space Base. How do you know? Maybe there's a lot of Space Force guys on post who agree with Trump and Vance and think that Greenland should be American territory. Do you think you really speak for everyone in that base, let alone everyone in Space Force? Quote, I do not presume to understand current politics. Then why the fuck are you commenting on it? But what I do know is the concerns of the U.S. administration discussed by Vice President Vance on Friday are not reflective of Patuxent Space Base. I commit that for as long as I'm lucky enough to lead this base, all of our flags will fly proudly together, Myers added. It's really not up to you, bitch. It's really not. Myers sent out the email on March 31st, seemingly upset over comments made by Vance about potentially annexing Greenland. The base-wide message, it was a highly unusual move, as publicly speaking out against the executive branch is viewed as not falling in line with the commander-in-chief and signals to the world that the U.S. military is a disjointed force. Myers, who spent nearly 20 years as an Air Force officer before jumping branches to the Space Force in May 2021, oversaw roughly 200 airmen and guardians while in command of the U.S.'s northernmost military installation. So yeah, she thought she was speaking for 200 airmen and guardians. During Vance's visit, the Post witnessed Myers speaking about her plans to retire in the next few months. The VP and the commander also had a pleasant conversation about polar plunges before the briefing, with Myers smiling and laughing as Vance read out a certificate he saw in her office about the plunge, including a line about lusty seals. Okay. In total, 650 men and women, including civilian contractors from Greenland, Denmark, and Canada, live and work at Patuxent Space Base. Space Operations Command announced that Colonel Sean Lee replaced Myers as Patuxent's commanding officer. Quote, actions to undermine the chain of command or to subvert President Trump's agenda will not be tolerated at the Department of Defense. The assistant of the Secretary of Defense for Public Affairs, Sean Parnell, wrote on X, along with the Space Force's announcement. Yeah, this is simple. This is pretty basic military code of conduct, and she just kind of flagrantly violated it. And even if you think that, like, well, freedom of speech, bro, I agree, in principle, but at the same time, You're in the military. There are certain things, like, unless, like, Trump and Vance are doing something, like I've said this before, doing something like flat out illegal, or they're doing something that violates ethics, like you're supposed to kind of zip it up, just follow orders. Like I said, it's basic military code of conduct. Vance's press secretary, Taylor Van Kirk, said in a statement, Vice President Vance is grateful for his visit to Patuxent Space Base and for the opportunity to meet with our brave servicemen and women stationed there. President Trump has made his vision for an enhanced security footprint in the Arctic abundantly clear, and the Vice President is committed to implementing the President's agenda. This includes strengthening the partnership and cooperation between the United States and Greenland, which is critical for both American national security and the safety of our partners worldwide. Members of the Senate Armed Services Committee celebrated Meyer's removal in a series of X statements with Senators Jim Banks, Republican from Indiana, Eric Schmidt, Republican from Missouri, I guess, and or maybe that's Montana. I don't know. And Tommy Tuberville, Republican from Alabama, all praising the quickness of the DoD getting her out. And, also hilarious, they replaced her with a man. So, during his trip, Vance slammed Denmark for not doing a, quote, good job by the people of Greenland and called out Copenhagen for not investing more into the world's largest island's security architecture. When the president said, quote, when the president says we've got to have Greenland, he's saying this island is not safe, Vance responded to a question from the Post, signaling out Russia and China as potential threats. Our message to Denmark is very simple. You have not done a good job by the people of Greenland. You have underinvested in the people of Greenland, and you have underinvested in the security architecture of this incredible, beautiful landmass filled with incredible people. Look at this fucking hippie. Never a B-2 stealth bomber on Patuxent Space Base. Never. I bet you there's already a B-2 there. And if there's not a B-2, then there should be at least 3. Trump repeatedly expressed his desire to take control of Greenland and previously said he would not roll out using military force to make it happen. Trump says a lot of things. That's one of those things. I don't think he's just going to, send in the fucking army and the Marines and then plant an American flag in Greenland and say, it's ours now. Suck it, Denmark. I don't think that's going to happen. However, Vance said the island's roughly 57,000 permanent residents would first have to choose independence and then enter into partnership talks with the U.S. So yeah, they have to become independent themselves, then petition for us to take them in as territory. Danish Foreign Minister Lars Luck or Luke, I don't know how you pronounce that. Lars Luck Rasmussen scolded the Trump administration's tone after Vance's visit. Ooh, don't piss off the Danish. Oh, no. We are open to criticism, but let me be completely honest. We do not appreciate the tone in which it is being delivered, Rasmussen said in a video message in English on X. This is not how you speak to your close allies. Suck it, Denmark. Seriously. I'm glad we're allies and everything, but don't sit there and act like you can fucking dictate tone to us, okay? You know who daddy is. Rasmussen cited the 1951 U.S.-Denmark agreement that allowed the U.S. to build more military bases in Greenland and noted that both countries are part of NATO and therefore share the security responsibilities on the island already. Initially overseen by the Air Force and named the Thule Defense Area, the Greenland base was overtaken by Space Force in 2023 and renamed Patuxent Space Base. I wonder why they did that. But yeah, don't violate the chain of command and you won't lose your job. And I mean, she was planning on retiring, and then she does this huge fuck up, and it just kind of ruins her retirement. Well, I mean, she's still gonna retire probably. She didn't get court-martialed; she just got removed from command. So, but anyway, yeah, like I said, fuck around and find out. Anyway, if you agree with the takes that I have laid out here, feel free to tell me in the comments below. And if you don't agree with them, also feel free to tell me how fucking stupid you think I am. No matter what, like the video, smash the like button, smash it, and follow me on X and click on all my links and and sub to all of my other alternate channels. And yeah, take a bone up into an orbital satellite and drop it on me.